Donald Trump's statements about potentially lifting sanctions against Russia, made in the context of his possible return to the White House, give Moscow an unprecedented strategic initiative. This allows the Kremlin not only to dictate the terms of future negotiations, but also to actively test Western resolve, deepening divisions among its allies. Such statements could provoke a rift between countries oriented toward harsh confrontation and those seeking de-escalation, especially in light of the economic costs of supporting Ukraine. This weakens the unity of NATO and the EU, creating fertile ground for Russian geopolitical interests. Amid these political maneuvers, the Kremlin is relying on internal military forecasts. According to General Staff estimates, Ukraine could face a critical loss of combat capability within 2 to 5 months due to resource depletion, ammunition shortages, and delays in Western aid. Significant breakthroughs are expected in key sectors of the front, in the direction of Pokrovsk, Kupyansk, and Liman. Kupyansk is a crucial railway hub for logistics. Liman is the gateway to further advances in Donbas, and Pokrovsk is a key fortified area, the loss of which could open the way to operational space. However, according to most independent military analysts, even the loss of these cities will not lead to a fundamental change in the configuration of the front or the collapse of the Ukrainian defense, which has demonstrated resilience. Kyiv, for its part, considers a strategy of exchanging territory, the loss of 1 or 2 cities per year, for significant losses for Russian troops acceptable. At the same time, Ukraine is actively attacking Russian oil refineries and critical infrastructure facilities. The goal is to undermine the enemy's economy and logistics, reduce oil export revenues that finance the war, and disrupt fuel supplies to the army, creating a shortage on the domestic market. If Russia seeks total victory rather than partial territorial gains, the West's options for a symmetrical response to Moscow's intensification of hostilities remain limited. Massive bombing or direct military intervention by allies is difficult due to the risk of escalation to a direct conflict with NATO. In this situation, Moscow's only effective option is to further intensify its own military operations, including a new wave of mobilization. This would demonstrate its unwavering commitment to maintaining and expanding control over Donbas, forcing the West to either take decisive action with enormous risks or negotiate on Russia's terms, which would mean recognition of its territorial gains and a weakening of Ukraine's position. In this context, the partial mobilization of reservists is being actively considered, which could be implemented under the guise of addressing other objectives. The General Staff previously announced plans to call up reservists to form mobile fire groups, MFTs, designed to protect critical infrastructure in border regions. Current legislation already permits the participation of these reservists in combat operations abroad, even during peacetime, creating a convenient legal basis for their potential use beyond their originally stated purposes. This allows the Kremlin to maintain flexibility without declaring a full-scale mobilization, which could provoke a negative reaction. The decision on such mobilization, effectively a Plan B, in the event that Ukraine refuses to make concessions on Donbas, was likely made even before the hypothetical negotiations with Trump. This indicates that the Kremlin prefers to prepare for a military scenario without placing high hopes on diplomatic solutions. The proposed deployment scenario is as follows. Reservists will be called up to the mobile task force with public guarantees that they will not participate in the SVO, which will reduce social tension. After training and completing tasks to protect facilities in Russia, the General Staff can redeploy these units to the SVO zone under the pretext of a planned rotation of 2022 mobilized personnel. By that time, the number of mobilized personnel in the first wave will have significantly decreased due to dismissals, losses, and other reasons. Thus, the state will be able to use the initial call-up of reservists to protect infrastructure as a legitimate justification, and then send them to the front under the guise of rotation. The numbers for such covert recruitment could reach tens of thousands of people, which would significantly impact the balance of power at the front.